So the Razor's Edge offers a quick way to analyze the giving that your parents are doing if you're running a K-12 private school or college or university by parent class analysis. Under Reports, Analytical Reports, Parent Class Analysis, you can create multiple versions. And once you have one set up, the report renders. Here, there's some important totals that we've got at the very end of the report on the Format tab with the detail. We only want total giving. We do want to include non-givers on the report. And if we're doing multiple years, we're just going to decide to attribute it to the child graduating first. I think these are some recommended standards. Some other things I always recommend, always including your organization's name in the header, making meaningful titles and subtitles appear on the right, and everything else appear on the left. Once you've done that, you can also specify the date range that you're interested in. And the filters here, we're doing it for the annual fund and for current parents. And we're just going to do one class for the class of 2011. When that report renders, you'll see some of the best practices. We've moved over the names. We include all the report criteria so that if this report shows up 2 or 3 years from now or just as a printout, everyone knows exactly where the name is, what the filters were used, and how it can be recreated in the database. And so this is a great report. You get a quick rendering, you get your percentage, you get your total given, and you can see who they are. The issue comes up sometimes, though, with dual households or multiple households when divorced parents are at play. Because if there are 2 parents for each student, but if they're still married, as long as one of them gives, the other parent you can give soft credit, or if they're just a spouse relationship, only the household record is going to show up here. So they don't get penalized if only one of a married parent couple gives. But if only one of a divorced parent gives, it still counts the other parent as a non-donor. And if you look at our results here, you'll see Georgia Thomas as a single parent, John and Sue Smith, I'm going to assume from the soft crediting and the exact amount that they're still married and they're each set up to be soft credited for one another's gifts. Harry and Allison Goodson, they could be a couple, but neither one of them has given, so they should both be on there no matter what. But here with the Andrews, Allison and Dustin, it's interesting because one of them's given and one of them has no gifts to list. So they could either, if they're still married, then that could be a data entry problem. Someone forgot to get automatically soft credited. But if they're divorced, this is the situation where Allison is still showing up as a non-donor. She should be removed. But there's no easy way to do that. What you need to do in Razor's Edge is build a couple of queries. The first is going to pull anybody who's a current parent and who is divorced, who has a relationship of former spouse or ex-wife, ex-husband, however you code it, and who's given at least a penny or more to the fund that you're analyzing. And then exact same query, just do a file, save as, and change this amount to 0. And that query, you're going to come up with exact same thing, but your spouse non-donors. And what I mean by that, if we show the results for both of these queries, is so here are all the current parents who have given this year, but who also have a former spouse relationship. So they have a divorced spouse also in the system. Here are all the parents who have a divorced spouse in the system as well, but who haven't given. So you can see here the Smiths are both, they're divorced, but they're soft credited for one another's gifts. So they're not going to be a factor. But here you've got Dustin Andrews and you've got Allison as the spouse, but here's Allison as the showing that she hasn't given. So at the end of the day, because they have the same child, Dustin's gift, as far as parent percent participation goes, Allison should be removed. So in order to do that, you need to export both of these files into Excel. And you also need to export both the donors and the non-donors out into Excel. Then in Excel, go ahead and do some quick formatting. You've got your donors and your non-donors, the non-donor spouses. And then on your non-donor file, I'll move this down. So we can see what we need to do is tell the computer, hey, if Allison is a non-donor, if her constituent import ID is in this individual relationship import ID, if that's the same, then she should be excluded. So we can do that with a VLOOKUP column. So we can just insert a column here. We'll call that column former spouse donor check. And because we're going to be doing a VLOOKUP, it's always easier to have a named table. So we're just going to go ahead and select all of these and give it a name range. And we'll just call it former SP donors. And once that's done, back in your non-donors, look, we can just start doing the VLOOKUP formula. So there, you can open the VLOOKUP. It's starting here. You can see it's taking A2, this value, and it's looking in that table that we named, the former donors table, and it's returning the first column, which would be the individual relationship import ID, and we're using false, so it has to be an exact match. And then we just grab and pull that down. And as expected, it only evaluated for Allison Andrews. But if it evaluated for more, you could very easily just do a filter here to not show the blanks. And then you could select however many import IDs you have. And then just copy that import ID and paste it into a query in Razor's Edge. And then that query can be excluded from the parent class analysis report. So let's go do that now. So here we've just built a very simple constituent query, and we're saying constituent import ID not one of, and we've got that value. It's only one value, but if you had up to 500 copied to your clipboard, you would click in the first row, click the bar, then click in the bottom, Control V on your keyboard, and it doesn't look like anything happened, but when you click OK, you'll see here it's just a 1, but it would be a list of several. So again, these are people that we want to exclude from that. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to call it current parents dual households to exclude. And once we have that query, we can simply go back to our report. And what had included Allison Andrews before, if we go back to the configuration for that report, it was pulling by all records. Well, now we'll just say pull from selected records. And here to exclude. And now when we click preview, you'll see that we've gone from out of 7, where Allison is included, to 4 out of 6. That's how you check for by building the queries and exclude those donors. And that's about it.